All right, guys, it's Paul Singh, the Market Speculator with bullsonwallstreet.com, the free weekly swing trade report. Today, we're going to talk about low priced, low float junk stocks, which we usually don't focus on, even though I trade them quite a bit in some of my other accounts. For the part-time swing trading, usually you don't want to do too much of this, but this week we've got the Fed meeting. We're kind of in a holding pattern till Wednesday. The markets are looking really strong here. We can see SPY breakout pullback. Now, normally with this remount of the 9 EMA, looks like the pullback's over. We would test 240 and maybe even break out. I'd be aggressively getting into the market, especially with the indexes, but we've got the Fed meeting and that can change everything. So because of that, we want to look at least going into the Fed meeting, potentially trading stocks that won't be that impacted by what's going on in the market and with the news related to the market. And usually that's the low price junk. That stuff doesn't really trade with the market unless there's an extreme move. Then everything gets hit one way or the other. But this is usually a pretty good way to play if you're sitting on your hands waiting for the market to do something, but you want some stuff to mess around with. These are speculative plays. I usually take smaller position size with these types of things, but let's key in on that. Number one is Snap. Now, this isn't necessarily a low floater here. It's actually a pretty big float, but the reason we're watching this one is because it's not necessarily going to be related to the market. We can already see that as it IPO'd just recently, about 7 trading days ago, has not moved at all in line with the market. And there's essentially 3 or 4 different areas we're going to be looking at. We're looking at the all-time closing high, which is 2709. A break of that would be strong, as well as a break of the intraday high, which is 2944. So we'll just call it 2950. So basically 27 and 2950 are key levels. You can trade around those ranges. A break of 27, you can go long. You've got 2 points to 29, and maybe we even break through that level. And then obviously if we break 2950, you've got your next run there. Now, within that, we've got a nice little range here right above 23. So basically a break of Friday's intraday action would set us up for a 3 to 4 point move here, which would be nice. Maybe you get that in between the Fed meeting in a couple of days here. So watch these levels very closely. And then obviously the break of the lows here would set us up to the downside. So that's Snapchat. Basically 4 key levels here to watch. We don't know which one's going to happen, but one of these should break here, and that should give you a good quick trade. Now let's get to the low floaters. AAOI semiconductor stock. Semiconductors have been on fire. AAOI has been leading, but very extended. And we could short this thing on a break of the 9 EMA here, which is right at 50.07. So let's say a break of 50 here could set us up for a 3, 4, 5 point move. And if it really tanked, we could go down to 40 here. But let's be more conservative and say you get a 3, 4, 5 point move here. Maybe you risk $1 or 2. Nice setup there. And then if it doesn't break down and breaks the highs, obviously you have your breakout play also. So again, with all of these positions, be adaptive. Take the short or long as the setup kind of speaks to us here. Kala, another low float biotech here. Only 8 million on the float. That's really low. You have to be really careful with these guys. But it has been a big run here, consolidating right at the 9. A couple of ways to play this. One, you could just take a shot within this consolidation, manage your risk well, really low risk here. But you could also play for a break of this 13 range, and then maybe it sets up for the next big move. So let's call it, and one more, LJPC. Nice breakout here, pullback, held the 9. Has moved really nicely, and we've got a couple of ranges here. One was the closing high, which it broke on Friday. So you have your trigger. You could just enter here, maybe place your stop under Friday's low or the 9 and see if we get that big next move. Or you could play a break of, say, one of these ranges in here, and once we get that, maybe then we get the move, or a consolidation breakout. So a number of ways to play this, but 4 stocks setting up really nicely in either direction that could potentially trade outside of whatever the market does related to the Fed meeting. So remember that anytime you got a big news event coming up, look for stocks that are potentially going to trade outside of the news event. All right, guys. So we're going to be watching Wednesday. We're going to be watching that Fed very closely, not necessarily the news, but how price action reacts to that news. So I'll see you guys next week. We'll talk about what happened with the Fed meeting and what we're looking to do going forward as the big news event is out of our way.